Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I am doing another zombie bite, surprise surprise, that's all I ever seem to be doing. But this time I'm going to be doing my ultimate favourite, Gelatine zombie bite. This one you need to be a bit careful with because you could quite easily burn yourself. I've had quite a few people when I was learning to do this from home burn themselves quite badly, so just be aware of that, and also be aware that if you burn this stuff it will stink, like it will reek, it will smell absolutely vile. I just find it, even though you have to work quick, I find it so much easier to mould the wound, and I find that with the odd stringy bits you get, I feel like it looks far more realistic for a torn bit of skin than, say, Cinewax or latex or any other ones I could use would look. So I've really prepped my neck with barrier foam, my trusty Crayolan one, and one thing to note is I've got my gelatin in a little pot. Do it in a microwave pot with like a wooden stick, so then you can leave the stick in there. You don't need a lot, but if you're using it on yourself and you're only ever going to be using this gelatin on yourself, you can reheat it and reuse it again. So once you're done with it and it's still clean, you can melt it back down again and use it for something else. And with melting this, it's important to do it in little steps, in little intervals of heat. So put it in for like 10 seconds, stir it around. If it's still lumpy, put it in for a little, like 5 more seconds, just until it's runny, and then after that you've got to work quick because you could, the gelatin will dry out before you've even applied it, which isn't something you want, because then you can't mould it. I've tied my hair back now for this because it does get quite sticky. Once you've microwaved it, it should be runny like this. You can just give it a little stir to help it cool down for a little bit so it's not too hot, and just test a little bit on your skin, like on the back of your hand, just to make sure it's not too hot, because you don't want to be burning your neck in quite a large area. And I quite like gelatin because when it does decide to dry out, it's really easy to clean. You can just peel it off and off you go. So now that I know it's cool enough for my skin, I'll use my trusty metal spatula again, and I like to use this to apply, only because it lets me set out the spacing and sizing for my bite a lot better than it would without. So I just create a little crescent shape, and then you just gouge out lumps to create the bite, lifting up the excess as you work. And I'm just going to grab a bit more and top that up. See, if it does get too thick in certain areas and you want it to blend out more, you can use witch hazel. That helps break down the gelatin. So once you've done that, you just want to let it dry and cool down on your skin, as it will be quite sticky. You can see if it's done because it will be tacky but won't lift up an awful lot. Let that set for a second, and once it's set you are just going to want to set the gelatin so it's not as sticky and annoying. I'm again using the Technique Soft Focus translucent powder, and I'm just going to get a large sponge brush and just pat it over to make the wound, the gelatin set. Now once you've done that, I like to go in with the alcohol palettes again. I'm going to be using both the Lighter Flesh Tones and the Ultimate FX palette. Both I will link below as to where you can get them. I like using alcohol palette paints with gelatin because I feel like the alcohol paints sit so nicely on the gelatin than other wounds do. Another thing you can do if you aren't sure where to place your bite mark, you can paint out with an alcohol paint the colouring and bite indentations before applying the gelatin to give you a base mark of where your teeth indents and everything will be. So first I'm going to be using this red colour, and I'm just going to use a sponge and stipple it. Just getting a sponge, and I will just sponge the gelatin all over. Not the gelatin, the alcohol paint. I also really like using gelatin as I feel like it's a lot more, it gives a lot more leeway of movement. So if you are putting it on an area that moves a lot, it will stretch and move along with the skin. Whereas if you're using something like gelatin, like latex or Cinewax, it won't set as nicely and it will tend to move and lift off quite a lot. So just adding red into the centre and around the wound. And I'll just rip it up a bit as well to add the same effect. This will help also show more irritation around the edge of the wound by ripping it, because it won't be such a harsh colour coverage. It will be stippled around the wound. There we are, like that. And then I like to go in with some fine brushes like this one and just use any shades of like dark browns, blacks, and darker red colours, just to add more depth to the wound and to make the wound look more realistic. You'll want to apply less to the bite indentations just to add more depth. So once I've done that, I am once again going in like usual and creating the veins. As you can see, I've used darker browns and blacks to add depth into the bite marks. Once I've done that, I am now going to do the veins again. Like always, you can't have a zombie bite without some veins. I am again going to use the blue from this palette as well as the darker red shade from this palette as well to create the veins. I'm just using a thinnish brush and just creating squiggles of lines. I like to do it when I'm creating zombie marks on my face. Bring the veins up to the face. This can show later stages of spreading of the infection. If the colours are a bit darker than you want them to, you can just tap them, and if they still won't pin down like there, you can get a clean brush with a bit of IPA on it and just water it down, as this will help wash away the colour. We are now that the veins are painted in. I am again going to go in with my trusty scar wax. Can't have a zombie look without some scar wax, and conveniently has got stuck in the cap. There we are. It is quite sticky stuff, this, but it creates such a nice bloody wound. So again, I'm just going to grab the blood and drag it down from where the bite marks are, where the indentations are, just to help create a lovely bloody mark. Just to add to the bloodiness of this wound, I'm going to get a stipple sponge and just stipple the blood around the wound, just to show the effect of dried blood and make the wound look more lifelike. This is also good if you needed to create a muddy look, getting grease paints or aqua and just stippling it or scraping the sponge across your skin to create that look. And then here we are, there is the finished zombie look. I hope you enjoyed and found this useful. As always, I will try and link all the products I use down below so you can find whatever you want easy. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Bye!